Welcome back to Vision and Impact, the podcast where we spotlight founders and innovators that are really redefining the future of health, wellness, and human connection. I'm your host, Sharissa Olivas, founder of White Wolf Marketing. And today's guest is Yaara, co-founder of Maitri, a powerful app born from a deeply personal mission to make it easier for people going through a health crisis like cancer. So we're going to talk through what this really provides for people that are going through a diagnosis, a way for people to organize support and even ask for support when it might be the hardest time. Maitri, which means loving kindness, is changing how we show up for one another. And today we're going to talk about that emotional side of healing and kind of that hidden way of care coordination and how you can humanize, but not necessarily replace care with tech and real community. So let's get into it.
Hi, Sharissa. So nice to be here today. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, let's get into it. Let's start with the origin of Maitri. Your co-founder went through a cancer treatment, and when she needed this app, that's when she decided that there was something that was missing in the market. So can you kind of share that experience and what led up to the creation?
So Ophir, our CEO, my co-founder, was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 27. So you're kind of in that weird in-between space where you're not old enough to be cared for by other family members and not young enough to be cared for by your parents. And there's kind of this expectation that you should be able to do it all on your own and hack it all by yourself and just be super strong and motivated and get through it. And she really struggled talking about her diagnosis and her experience and reaching out to people, even though people really wanted to be there for her and really wanted to show up. So when she tells the story, she talks about being on her maybe second to last round of chemo, running out of the shower with her towel and hey, I have this thing, I have this idea, this needs to happen. So she kind of realized through her own personal experience and her struggle with wanting to kind of be with this, be supported by the people around her, but then not wanting to kind of talk about it, not wanting to relive that experience in that way again, that there has to be a better way to kind of both ask for and coordinate help, which is where the idea for the app came from.
Awesome. And how did you get involved with all this?
We met 8 years ago on a trip to Vietnam. We kind of stayed in touch a little bit loosely. They were visiting New York, Ophir and her husband, and she wanted to kind of look for someone to build this with her, and she was looking for someone more technical. And I was trying to help connect her with my community and the people around. And the more she talked to me about what she was building and why she was building it and what she wanted to do, it kind of really occurred to me that I was like, this could have real impact. This is something that I can see would really be helpful in people's lives. And I was like, you know what? I actually want to get involved in this. And while I'm not the technical side of the business, I can be the business side of the business. So we decided to give it a shot, and we've been working together ever since.
Oh, so you really jumped into something that was very emotionally layered and deeply personal for her. And what kind of drew you to that mission? How did it change your view of what support actually means for people?
I mean, I feel like after a certain age, everybody kind of has their own experience with a chronic illness or even with cancer, either with a close family member or friend or someone in your community. So it wasn't something that was completely foreign to me. The whole concept of organizing support and trying to be kind of very project managey about something that you're going through and looking at it like that really resonated with me. When my grandmother was ill, she was very old when she passed away, but all of the grandkids kind of got together and we had this WhatsApp group where we were trying to coordinate who would come visit on the weekend and when, and who would bring food and who would check in and who would say hi. And we were probably 10 or 15 of us, and it was really messy to try to organize this. The person who decided that they're going to run the schedule would send out a message and it's like, here, everybody's visit date. And then it would jump into, wait, but I have to get my kid out of this thing and I can't, that weekend we're traveling and I'm abroad and I have a business trip and I have. And it turned into this big thing. All we wanted to do was really just be there with my grandmother at that time. So it's like I understand that like organizing that in that way, while it's very well intentioned, could be really hard. And we've heard from like conversations that we've had with other cancer patients and cancer survivors that a lot of people wanted to kind of like show up for them. But the main way people found to do that would be that kind of group or would be this like Excel where they would fill in different things. But I don't know if you've tried accessing an Excel file with like 20 people on it. It's like, that is not a good idea. Like people are overriding each other and it doesn't load. And everybody wants that one date that is like super convenient, but no one wants to come on the weekend or like no one wants to be there on the holiday because it kind of doesn't work with what you need to do. So I can really see how both organizing it and making it something that is easier to digest and breaking it down to kind of like the bite-sized pieces of like, here is one specific thing at one specific time that could be addressed by the community would be really, really easy. And I think that worked for me for like who I am as a person and my background in business, just managing projects in general and like being responsible for a lot of people and a lot of different things kind of running in parallel. I was like, okay, great, amazing. This is a way for me to bring together something that I personally have seen would have made an impact in my life as someone who wanted to offer support and wanted to be part of a support community. And also as someone on the other side of it who wanted to manage it on the business side, for example, where you kind of know where you need to go, where you know what the tasks are and what the asks are. And you're trying to make sure that everybody kind of comes together in the right way to do that. So between that and the social impact of it and really just being able to make a difference in people's lives, it wasn't very difficult to get behind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we've probably all experienced, wanting to help somebody in one way or another and not sure how to reach out or how to help. In any kind of life situation. It's that situation where you want to, offer a meal or rides or errands or maybe help with appointments, but sometimes you don't know exactly how to help. And so I like the idea of this app because it creates providing help and support in a manageable and very actionable way. And it kind of allows your whole circle of people what you need when you're going through a diagnosis to really plug in without adding more stress to somebody's plate. And I think when you're going through something, you just want to know that people are there. And when you're trying to support somebody, you want to know how to help in the best way possible. And so I think that this app kind of connects the two sides of it in a very realistic and helpful way.
That's exactly it. That is what we were hoping to do. We're hoping to kind of help navigate a situation that is already physically taxing and emotionally challenging and just really hard for anyone kind of going through it, the person going through that experience or experiencing the health journey, and the people around them who really both want to be there, but kind of, as you said, find themselves sometimes not exactly knowing what to do or how to do or when to reach out or how to reach out. So that whole conversation is really tricky, I think, to have in the right way, because if you want to show up for someone and support them, you don't want to be maybe too invasive or like too nudgy and just be like, so what do you need? How can I help? What can I do? And you think you're being helpful because you really just want them to say it. Just tell me what I can do. But no one's a mind reader. Like people don't know what you actually need. And so it can kind of result in either people saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is happening to you. Like, kind of drop off. Some would go the extra mile and like offer a nice gesture or something that they think that you would need. So a lot of the times from the cancer survivors we've spoken to, they would get flowers or they would get gift baskets or they would get like a fuzzy sweater or a hat or socks. And it's like, that's really nice. But actually what would really be helpful is if somebody could like grab this package for me because it's super heavy and I can't really manage that on my own right now. Or if somebody could like help me walk my dog, or if someone can help like take my kids out for an afternoon so that they have a nice time and that we can get some rest. So all those things that would be really humbling and like really difficult for someone going through that to maybe ask explicitly, because a lot of the time it comes with that feeling of like being a burden or being ashamed that you can't do this on your own or not wanting to kind of come off in a way that isn't your best self, although people around you kind of completely understand that this is not a normal situation, and it's okay. It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to not be okay. And I think it's important, like, it was important for us to kind of like come up with a method or a way to make that interaction easier. So by being specific about what you need and like prompting people with suggestions, it's like, would you need help with errands? Would you need help with, I don't know, a doctor's appointment? Would you need help with pet care, child care, anything that they wanted to do? Then you don't have to think about, oh, wait, actually, I can ask someone for that. Like, I can ask someone to call me because I just want to talk to someone. I don't really need them to do anything. I just want to have a normal conversation. So we feel like that really resonated with people once we presented them with options with something that could be more specific. So it's like, I would just want someone to call me today. I had a bad day. I don't even want to tell you about my day. I just want to listen to you talk about your day at work or what you had for dinner or this movie that you watched or this show on Netflix. That's like super interesting. So by being like more specific and like guiding people through the options, we found that they found it easier to kind of say, oh, hey, wait, actually, I can ask someone for that. And the second thing we wanted to offer was options. So the intent is for you to really think about this as a project management tool. So it's like a way for you to kind of like communicate all the different things that you would need help with. And it's not a single ask like, oh, I wasn't feeling well today. Can you bring me chicken soup? Like, we understand that this is a longer experience that people are kind of going through, and people who want to be there for them don't all show up at the moment that you tell them about your diagnosis. People want to be there over longer periods of time. And what we found is that there's this like explosion of support once people hear the news. And then afterwards, it kind of fades away because they don't know how they could be helpful. So by allowing the leads or the patients, the people kind of putting in the tasks in there to offer different, very specific ways to help me walk my dog, help me pick up my prescription. Could you bring me a meal? Could you help me find a way to like get from point A to point B on this day and on this time? Then people can kind of pick and choose the one thing that works for them and their schedule without having to have that awkward conversation of me calling you up on the phone being like, hey, Sharissa, do you mind like walking my dog on this day? Like, we got stuck, our dog walker is gone. Da, da, da. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm recording this podcast. I have this like really big, important business meeting and I can't right now. So it kind of makes everybody feel worse. And instead of being something that when practice becomes better and easier, kind of gets people to kind of shut down. So you're stuck in the guilt of like, oh, I shouldn't have asked. Like, now I'm being a burden and they can't do this for me. So you kind of roll back into this, I'm going to figure it out. And the person on the other side also feels bad because they really wanted to help you, but that particular thing that you asked them to do, they couldn't do that day or they couldn't do that time. The last part, I think, on the app that is helping people kind of be more proactive about this is saying thanks. And I know some of us do that anyway. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much for like helping me. Thank you so much for like showing up for me. But we really wanted to prompt people to accept with gratitude because you would do the same thing for someone else going through that kind of experience. And we feel like that's a really important reminder. Because like if someone told you that they're going through something, your initial reaction would be, what can I do? How can I help? But when you're on the other side of like, when you're on the side of it that needs to make that initial connection or reach out, then all of a sudden you get all closed up and you're like flustered and you don't know what to do. And it's like, oh my God, but what if I ask and they say, I was like, what if I ask and no one like responds? So we really wanted to kind of make that entire process easier to manage, more automated, like use technology for this. Like we all use apps. You would just get a push notification on your phone. It's like, wait, yes, I did sign up for this. Amazing, great. I will be there at 5 p.m. to pick you up with your doctor's appointment. Or I will like grab this package for you. It will be there waiting at your doorstep like when you come back. And it also gives a way to kind of avoid that, wait, I signed up for a thing and I forgot about it and you just don't show up. We've had someone who told us that their parent was supposed to pick them up after chemo and they forgot. They just forgot. So they were standing there like waiting to be picked up and no one showed up. And it's like, and this is a parent, not a friend, not a partner. It just slips your mind. So we're really hoping to kind of leverage that tool. And like people are glued to their phones anyway. You might as well get a pop-up notification and say, hey, your friend would love to
Yeah.
talk to you. Do you want to call them Monday at 5? So yeah, so that's what we're
I love
doing.
that. I love that. And I feel like this app is taking away that like emotional labor. And it gives people the ability to say, yes, I do need help, with XYZ. And they don't have that guilt or the pressure or, just having to say it out loud. And so I think it gives those people that want to help you a way to actually show up without guessing or maybe even overstepping them or flooding them with like calls and texts, and it just lands in the right way. And it's great that it's kind of like a project management tool. It doesn't just do that. It creates more of a team. Like I see like a community of people that want to help this one person, but don't necessarily know how. And so it turns your support system into something that is real, very organized. And so you're not facing everything all alone. And I think it's really nice for people to know that they have a whole team of people behind them. And it gives people, friends and family, a really clear way to show up in a organized way.
And we also wanted to incorporate that into the design of the app itself. So, in addition to making everything kind of very easy step by step process, is to not make it more overwhelming or like more challenging. When you look at how we modeled support, you're looking at support circles where you're at the center of your community and all the people you've invited. There's a visual representation of what that looks like for you. And that really gives you that comfort that even though not every person on this list, not every person in your community can do everything for you all the time, that you do have all these people and you're able to kind of like mobilize your community to be supportive in a way that is actually helpful. And people really feel that like love and that like genuine connection when they reach out to people and they invite them and then they actually show up. And what we found is that the more things people put up on the like on their ask list or on their tasks, the more they actually see people that they maybe would have like less expected to kind of step up in that way become more involved. So it's really giving us an opportunity to like help people navigate that situation that is really, really hard in a way that leverages technology to make that a little bit easier.
I love that. Can you walk us through exactly how it works?
Well, you would start by downloading it from the App Store, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But after you do that, we sometimes find that that's the hardest part is like if you're going through that health journey and you've kind of like done the work to accept that this is something that you would need more help and more support with. Once you're over that like hump of like, I understand, you're looking for ways to do that. So we wanted to be one of those ways for you to be able to be more proactive and more clear about what you need and how other people can show up for you. And it starts by prompting you to think about the things that you would need and starting to kind of populate those tasks. And then it would also suggest that you start inviting people to your support circles. So you would invite someone to join, and it could be a parent or a partner or a close friend or a more distant friend or family that lives overseas or a colleague that you worked with once but are still friendly with, or your neighbors because they're around and they want to check in with you. And as you start kind of building that community, you really feel that like human interaction in that way of like feeling more connected and more supported. And you're kind of shifting that burden of responsibility for that whole like healing process from yourself solely. And it's like, I'm alone in this, like I need to do this alone, I need to like be able to figure it out, to something that is more kind of supported just in general. It's like I have all these people who are rooting for me, like I have all these people who want to show up for me, and then they actually can in a way that would be really helpful as opposed to what they think could be helpful. So it's just kind of feeds itself, I feel. And we've seen as we like watch people use it throughout like different stages of their experience, we can see that like the type of asks change. As you get more comfortable, you feel more comfortable asking for bigger things as opposed to just a smaller thing. It's like we do see people really resonate with the connection element of it. Like ask someone to call you, ask someone to like check in with you. Let's have a virtual watch party. Like let's go for like a walk. Like help me kind of get back on my feet as best I can because we know that sometimes people can't like as they go through that situation. So it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm demotivated. Let's go for a walk. It could really just be like text me and say, hey, I'm thinking of you today, like without that expectation of getting this full detailed report about my medical condition at the moment, which I may not want to give, but it still kind of helps reinforce the fact that it's like there are people here and they love me and they're thinking of me and they're rooting for me and they want to be there with me and for me as I go through this experience.
Love that. And you've said that asking for help is often the hardest part of the whole healing process. And I love that this app makes it easier. And especially for people who don't know how to help. And I think that there's a very powerful ripple effect in caregiving. And so it serves not only the person that's needing help, but the people that are trying to help. It's the friends, the family, the coworkers that often don't know where to start. And I think that that's extremely powerful. So where did the name loving kindness actually come from? And why does it matter? And how does it reflect what you guys are building?
Maitri is a concept in Sanskrit. It's basically a word that means loving kindness. It's also a concept in Buddhism or the state that can be reached through the practice of meditation that is basically like endless compassion and love towards oneself and one's environment. So Fear was going through treatment. That was kind of something that resurfaced and came up as she was practicing and kind of going through that. And we felt like it was a very apt name for what we were trying to do because we really wanted to encourage people to be more kind to themselves and really feel the love from their community and the love from their environment as they kind of went through that. So we really felt like this kind of really encompasses what we're building and the effect that we're hoping to create and the feeling that we're hoping to help people cultivate within themselves and their family and friends and community.
I love that. And with meditation, it's about being present, being compassionate towards yourself, and just like holding that space for yourself. I mean, I think when you're struggling mentally, it's hard to take that time to really feed that back into you. And it's that energy that we tap into during meditation, where the goal isn't necessarily to fix anything, but just to like feel that connection and to give your body time and space to just exist. And so I love that. I love that you've connected the whole thing together. And I think the app, it makes practice turn into action and it turns intention into impact.
Yeah, I think that really captures kind of the essence of what we're trying to do. And it sounds like you're an avid meditation practitioner, and I'm kind of the same way. So it's like it's really hard, especially as
Mhm.
you're going through something that's really difficult, to give yourself that time back because you're so busy with everything else that's kind of going on. You've got a thousand thoughts going through your head, and like your body can't relax, and your mind can't like quiet. And it's not for everyone. Like some people will be like, oh, well, this is not for me. Like I'd rather do ABC, distract myself, or do something else. But I feel like for the people who are able to kind of like connect with that concept, it's a super helpful way to really kind of give your body and your mind a moment where you're like holding space for yourself in a guided kind of way. And even if it brings you a moment of peace as you're going through treatment, as you're just laying on in bed and trying to figure out what to do as you're going through facing your own mortality or other things that kind of come up typically as you go through something like cancer or any other kind of chronic illness experience, then that's really helpful and like powerful and impactful. And it can sometimes give you moments of clarity that you wouldn't have expected otherwise. I recommend people try it if they haven't
Yeah,
yet.
and I think meditation matters most when things are hard, when you feel stressed or feel busy or are going through a diagnosis, I think it's easy to be still when life is calm, but when you're in the middle of uncertainty or fear or even grief, that's when slowing down becomes very essential and even survival. And yeah, I'm a big advocate for meditation, mainly because it's about connecting to yourself, to that very moment, to give yourself, even if it's just 10 minutes of just, okay, I'm going to focus on my breathing, I'm going to focus on me, because sometimes things feel out of control. So being able to practice that presentness and that form of strength is really important. And I think it's very hard for people to sit down and not do anything or think about anything for 10 minutes, which is
Yeah.
completely understandable in this
Yeah, I
crazy world.
completely agree. And I feel like to that, it doesn't need to start with the I'm just going to sit in silence with my for 20 minutes and like lotus position. Like people don't just jump into that. I think if you're able to hold space for yourself for a minute or two or three, like even get started with something that's a lot shorter, you kind of build that familiarity with what it is to practice and how it makes you feel and how it makes your body feel and how it can help like quiet your mind. And as you become better at it, then it's easier to kind of do that for longer periods of time. So it's like if you're someone who's listening to this who's never tried meditation, please don't start with a 20-minute one. Start with a 3-minute one. Those do exist. And it would just like give you a taste of what that can do and what that can be. And if that concept kind of resonates with you, then that's something I highly recommend.
Awesome. Yeah. If people are wanting to get into meditation, I've never done it before, where do you recommend them going?
That is a great question. I think it really depends on like what you are looking for in terms of like that experience. Even if I know YouTube's kind of fell out of favor, but like if you Google any type of thing, just like an intro to meditation, and then look at the people hosts or doing the talks or like guiding you through the meditation and find someone that you can relate to. So not everybody likes the music or the chimes around it, everybody like likes a female or a male voice so that you can have somebody that you feel like would be easier for you to like listen to for some time and kind of treat it like an audiobook a little bit. It's like the person reading it to you is not someone whose voice you enjoy listening to, you're less likely to actually try and do it well. But there are obviously so many apps I can't even count anywhere. So either either one would work.
Yeah. So just starting small, starting that first step of just sitting there with yourself for a few minutes.
I think regardless of what it is you're going through and who you are and where you are right now, taking a moment to yourself is hard. And also spending it in relative silence can make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. I was like, I actually have to sit here with my thoughts and with who I am and be okay with that. And that's really powerful.
Yeah. And, your mind is a muscle. It takes time to really learn to sit there for that long. It's hard. You're going to have thoughts come and go, and that's not abnormal. You take those thoughts in, you recognize them, and you move them aside because thoughts will always come. Your mind is always racing. And so it's not necessarily sitting there, not thinking about anything, but sitting there, recognizing the thought and setting it aside for that, that time being those 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great tool that we have in our arsenal.
Yeah, and I think it's a great tool for founders as well because it's something that if you build into your day or your routine can be really impactful in slowing down, especially as you're like running through, getting through the meetings, the thoughts, the brainstorming, the emails. You kind of find yourself working all the time, like all the time, all the time. It's like day, morning, night, middle of the night, you're answering emails. You wake up in the morning and you have this idea and you like dive into something. So it's really, really hard, especially as a founder and like an entrepreneur, for you to kind of like find a moment to yourself. So I think it's really helpful to kind of try that, not only from the perspective of someone who is an advocate for it and believes in like that power of like slowing down. It just gives you a tool to kind of recenter yourself and then get back to yourself when things could potentially start getting overwhelming or kind of like you're looking at your task list and it's like, okay, this is insane. Like, why did I ever sign up? Why am I doing this? I was like, it lets you kind of pull back for a second and be like, okay, I can do this. Like I have the confidence.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're the busiest is when you need it the most. When you have more going on is when you need to take those few minutes to just have nothing in your mind or try to have nothing in your mind. So usually when you're busy, you're like, I don't have time. I don't have those 10 minutes. But those are the days that you should be sitting down and actually taking that time.
And it doesn't have to be through meditation. It could be through any kind of practice or any other practice that you enjoy. I know people who journal and people who work out and people who like go for a run and people who have all sorts of different hobbies that I wish I could still keep for myself that are none of the above. But I have a friend who like does embroidery and it's like all these different things. It's like if you can take just like a short moment to do something that is for you. Even if it's like, oh, I put on my makeup in the morning. It's like I look a little nicer. It's like, oh, I did. I watered my plants today. So kind of like take a second for yourself and like focus on something that is giving back to yourself and not only to the people around you.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's get back on the app. Where do you see it going next? Where do you see the app kind of heading in the next few years?
I mean, obviously, we have big dreams. Well, we decided to focus on cancer patients because this is kind of like where the idea kind of grew and came from. We definitely see this platform being helpful for people managing chronic illnesses, for people who are recovering from surgery, for women or people who are giving birth. So like, there's a lot of different ways where community can kind of show up and support someone who's going through a health journey that is a little bit longer and more labor intensive and in a situation where the person going through it is put in this thing that they may or may not have asked or now are finding their footing again and like figuring out what they can and cannot do as they're on their road to recovery. So we really do feel like this could have a larger impact and just like having that method of asking for help and like helping people ask for help would be the real impact that we can make. So we're starting small, but definitely have big dreams.
I love that. And where can people learn more and download the app?
Yeah,
Or
so our app is available on both app stores. You can look it up. It's called Maitri Help, Maitri Help. You can visit our website, that's maitrihelp.com. And for any other ways to get involved, you can either reach out to us through the website or reach out directly to me. We love to talk to people who are going through a similar experience, who are building in the space, who work for nonprofits, who are serving patients at the moment, any patient advocates or social workers, anyone who feels like, wait, I know exactly where this can go, or like, I needed this, like, I felt this pain. So we really, really love to talk to you and connect with you, and please feel free to reach out.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Yara, for hopping on today and talking us through all of that.
Amazing. Thanks, Sharissa, for having me today. It was great.
It was great. Well, that's it for this episode of Vision and Impact. Huge, huge thank you to Yara for sharing her journey and her mission and really their vision behind Maitri. And this conversation is a reminder that health isn't just about medicine. It's about community and kindness and connection and just so much more. And so if you or someone you love is navigating a hard chapter, check out Maitri. It's more than an app. It's a support system that's made simple. So if you're building something bold in health, biotech, or wellness, let's connect at White Wolf Marketing. We help founders like you grow with strategy and soul. So until next time, stay visionary and keep making an impact.